Looks to be a half good protest. They got people right out into the bike lane anyway.
And these are things that we can do, and these are things that we will do. So I thank you for being here. I think continue to hold these folks accountable. They work for you, and if they're not listening to you because you don't own a golf course or a venture capital company, maybe you need to put better people inside the building. Thanks very much. Hey everybody, my name's Saku and I'm with the Fight for 15 Halifax. And we are really proud to support ACORN in their campaigning because we understand that we're not going to completely win the fight if we just increase the minimum wage. We need rent control, we need higher income assistance. We need to start building this economy from below by giving people that don't have a lot of resources more resources, and everyone will benefit. You know, it's very obvious at this point in this age of inequality that trickle-down economics does not work. It's just a complete myth. And we know what happens when you give rich people more money. They just buy houses and then rent actually goes up. Society actually very much, you can't hear me? Sorry. Society does not benefit when you give rich people more money, whereas society, every aspect of it benefits when you give poor people more money. And we started the Fight for 15 in Halifax because we're part of a global and North American-wide movement that has had many successes. In fact, there's 3 provinces in Canada that have moved to increase the minimum wage with successful Fight for 15 campaigns. And in all of those cases, unemployment has not gone up. In all of those cases, the economy has become stronger. In fact, just 6 months after Ontario raised their wage $2.40, Ontario experienced the lowest unemployment rate in 18 years. These economic insights are becoming so mainstream that now the entire United States is considering a national minimum wage of $15 an hour, which is more like over $18 Canadian. Because we know that these changes to the economy actually benefit everybody, and there's no excuse not to. And that's why, just in the couple years that we've had this campaign going, we've been able to agitate for much higher minimum wage increases. But we need to be louder. We need to hold politicians' feet to the fire to say that there's absolutely no reason not to raise the minimum wage. And definitely pushing for rent control and higher income assistance rates as well. And all of these other demands. Those are just the main ones that stick out to me as being so necessary. But thank you for having me speak. Thank you for being out here on this cold morning to give power to these demands. That's what's necessary. There's every reason for these demands. We just need the people power to make them happen.
I don't do this very often, oddly enough. But I wanted to talk about my family. Last year, my wife was in university at this time, and we were on a subsidy. We were paying $300 a month per rent. And then this fall, she graduated. She started getting paid $15 an hour plus bonuses. And in November, the subsidy people contacted us. Our rent was going up to $695 a month. When you get a paycheck of $700 every 2 weeks, $695 is half your rent because it's based off your gross pay, not your net, not what you bring home. And that needs to change because making $15 an hour and giving half of it to rent is not good. And that's actually with 2 kids and me being disabled. Funky chicken dance. But it's not something that we can handle very easily. I looked into it, I contacted people, there's nothing that can be done, at least not by us. She had to leave her office. She was the office manager for a clinic. They've not found someone to replace her yet. Small businesses are suffering because people cannot afford to live here even on $15 an hour wage. We need to do something for our housing. We need to take care of the people here. Yay to the truckers. I love truckers. One of them raised me from the age of 14 when I became disabled. So, you know what? Yay for the truckers. Anyway, I only wanted to talk about that. It's my own little pet thing right now. I have many others, mostly 12-year-old and 4-year-old. I'm a stay-at-home father.
Housing is a huge part of our platform and almost certainly why you're familiar with ACORN. Access to safe, healthy, and affordable housing is desperately needed in our communities. Until temporary rent controls were won in November of 2020, tenants were receiving rent increases of 10, 25, 50, even up to 120%. Recent data from rentals.ca shows the rent for a one-bedroom in the HRM has gone up by 20.7% in the last year.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Over the last year, I'm sure everyone has seen the horror stories of ludicrous $600 rent increases and how the combination of high rates and low vacancies has seen the HRM's unhoused population double over the last year. It's great that we've won this year's 2% rent cap and rent eviction ban, but these rent controls are temporary, and even permanent rent control doesn't solve the issue of lack of affordable housing stock. And that's not even tackling the legislative issues with residential tenancies or the massive maintenance and waitlist issues in public housing. While necessary, rent control isn't meant to be a standalone policy, but one of a suite of complementary policies that address the range of issues relevant to safe and equitable housing. That's why we're proposing a comprehensive housing plan to tackle this from all angles. We need permanent rent control with vacancy control to stabilize rents across the province. There is no reason a landlord should be able to dole out 50 to 90% rent increases like we saw all last year. Next, we need inclusionary zoning policies that would mandate that all new developments built in Nova Scotia are at least 30% affordable housing to increase the number of affordable units and stop the gentrification of our communities. We need to ban fixed-term leases that allows landlords to evict tenants for no reason and skirt the Residential Tenancies Act, along with a full review of the Residential Tenancies Act itself. And finally, we need to fund public housing, not just build more, but to repair the units that are falling apart around the tenants while the province does nothing to repair them.
All right, so I just want to reiterate that people of precarious statuses are having just levels and levels of issues when it comes to not just housing, but COVID making everything a whole lot worse. So I'll just give, one quick example. This applies to a lot of the people that I work with. But with immigration being shut down, refugee claimants have not been able to have their eligibility interviews. Those have been delayed for over a year. Without their eligibility interviews, they're not able to apply for work permits. Without work permits, they need to be on income assistance, and on income assistance, they're not able to afford housing in the province. So this is just layer upon layer of issues that people such as refugee claimants and other precarious statuses have to deal with. With that said, again, please do keep in mind that we need to make sure whatever it is we're fighting for is not limited based on immigration status. Everybody needs to be eligible for these issues. Thank you. And next we have Gary.
Hi everybody, I am a first voice. That means I have gone through poverty, I am going through poverty. And I would like to remind people what our government has done so far for those that live in poverty. They spent over $10 million on a transformation, and those that are disabled now receive $850. That is for your rent. That is for your food. That is for your bills. That is for your clothes. That is for your haircut. That is for your cleaning supplies, your garbage bags. No person can survive on those rates. It's important that we all stick together. Here in Nova Scotia, when we hear about someone struggling, we make excuses to why it's okay. It's never okay. It's time that the province, we stick together, we become one, and we fight together, because nobody is winning unless we are all winning. I would like to remind people, everyone has spoken about it now, about housing, but I would like to go a little bit deeper about public housing. I would like to explain to you how people in our province are struggling, how they are not wanting to live because they live in dirt and nobody cares about them. They keep calling about the repairs, they come down, they do a half job, and then they leave. We have public housing with well over $100 million in deferred maintenance. Now, for those that don't know what deferred maintenance is, for example, if a maintenance worker were to come into your home and your door was broken and they need to fix a doorknob and they don't have a doorknob, they're going to purchase that doorknob, right? They're going to order the doorknob and they're going to say, I'm going to be back in 1 week to fix it. So they defer the maintenance. So we have well over $100 million in deferred maintenance. That is not right. Thank you.
Hannah Wood, everybody.
Hi everyone. So everyone here has made some really good points, and I'd like to thank all our speakers, especially speaking from their personal experience. It is really important for us to hear that and know how things are being are affecting people on a day-to-day basis. We hear a lot of jargon from the government. We don't hear a lot about how people are actually being affected and harmed every day. I'm here to talk about our unified interest. We all are here from different groups, different statuses, different lives, but these are issues that affect us all. If there were raised rates, there's no one here who wouldn't benefit. And Saku is very correct to point out that there is a constant false narrative about raising the rates, that's also going to raise the standard of living. But all of us here know that there has been the cost of living has been more and more expensive every year, and we haven't had a rate increase. So really, what are we losing here by trying it? And I think Gary also makes a very good point that why are we not good enough for rent control? Why is it okay for Nova Scotia to have less, right? Sorry, here, I got a little too close. I think everyone here knows that we are just as worthy as anyone else in Canada to have rent control, so we need to continue to demand it. And also we need to recognize that COVID-19 is a continued state of emergency. Sorry, am I? Is it all over here? Thank you guys. Thank you, sound crew. Makes it much more comfortable to speak if I don't have to worry about that. Can everybody hear me? That's good? Okay. Yeah. Where was I? COVID-19. So COVID-19 is a continued state of emergency. We are not out of the woods yet. People are still being affected. And it's very important to understand that the CERB and the CRB, that did not help anyone. That did not help everyone. There are still people who fell through the cracks of that system, who were working just a little bit too much to qualify for CERB, but not enough to actually afford their living. Especially people who work in the service industry, they saw a massive decline in customers and in business, and therefore less shifts. And we have nothing to guarantee any kind of help for people who are in that middle zone. So even though I think it's easy to look at our COVID response and say, oh, well, it's better than the States, or it's better than here, or it's better than there. But that is very fatalistic thinking. We need to think about the best that it can be, not just that it's better than a very poor example to our south. Yeah. So we can do better, and we can make sure that no one gets left behind during COVID-19. One of the important issues too that we've realized is some people are being more left behind than others. Some groups are being more left behind than others. A lot of women especially have had to stay at home to care for children, and they are falling behind now in the job market and in wages. So it's very important to recognize that this is not an equal issue for everybody. Some people are having a nice vacation working from home from their office jobs. Other people are barely making ends meet and are giving up meals for their children. So we are not experiencing this equally, nor should it be dealt with equally. I want to talk about the state of homelessness in this province and the amount of people that we have living in the streets. It is a shame that we have let this continue. And one thing that I'm really proud of with this community is we did not say, well, that's just how it goes here in Halifax, did we? No, we have community members who decided to step up and make people shelters because the situation was that dire. We can't even count on our government to house people in the winter. For shame, for shame. Yeah. And obviously people need housing 365, but I'm really proud of this community that we were not willing to let a single person freeze to death on the streets in Halifax. And one of the really great things, as I was saying earlier about COVID-19, is this is a time for experimental ideas, for new ways of doing things, and people are more open than ever to hear those ideas and to do things differently. So we need to seize this moment where there is this fragility to our government and our unelected premier. I hope he hears me, because it's really a miscarriage of justice that we have someone unelected sitting in that seat. But we need to use that vulnerability right now to push our demands, and we need to act in a unified way. And even when it seems like some rallies are small or we're not getting anywhere, we are making the conversation, we are opening it up, and we are getting it on the agenda. So everyone here should be proud, big or small event, for how much we are getting things on the agenda. Thank you to everyone here. And I just want to reinforce the statements as well that Lena was saying, that we need to make sure that anything that comes in is not based on citizenship. It needs to be for everyone. Because when you start making things for this group or for that group, then, we're really just doing the same thing we have now, just slightly different. We need to make sure that things are for all, and we need to make sure that our rent control is permanent as opposed to what we have currently won, and that it is tied to income, and that it has a vacancy tax. A lot of people want to make a lot of criticisms about rent control when they don't understand how it should work, and that it needs to be part of a framework of other supports to make it work. So now I'm going to do some chants, the fun stuff. Everybody loves to chant. I'm going to get out my little chant guide. All right, so this one, I'm going to go through it once for you. I'm going to say, what do we want? You're going to say rent control. I'm going to say, when do we want it? And you're going to say now. All right, what do we want?
Rent control!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Rent control!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Rent control!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Rent control!
When do we want it?
Now!
All right, let's try a different one. This one is just all of us saying it together. It's no more rent hikes, no more greed. Rent control is what we need. No more rent hikes, no more greed. Rent control is what we need. No more rent hikes, no more greed. Rent control is what we need. No more rent hikes, no more greed. Rent control is what we need.
No more.
People always want to chant. Chanting is fun. All right. Now, the next one here is one where we all do it together again. It's the people united will never be defeated. Our leaders are cowards. The people have the power. All right. The people united will never be defeated. Our leaders are cowards. The people have the power. People united will never be defeated. Our leaders are cowards. The people have the power. The people
United will never be defeated. Our leaders are cowards. The people have the power.
Thank you guys so much. I'm starting to lose my voice. Thank you. All right, I think we do want one more though. One more really, really loud for one of our biggest demands. What do we want?
Rent control.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Rent control.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Rent control.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Rent control.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thanks everybody, and thank you to everybody who spoke. Thank you so much. Keep showing up to events. Keep showing that the people have the power here. And thank you very much.
And make sure you get home safe. Thank you.